And welcome to 707, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This is totally the first time we've said this, and we got some announcements for you. So if you are planning on joining ministry team, the application deadline is September 15th, right there. What day is September 15th? Today. All right. So if you're planning on joining ministry team, guys, you got to have it done and have it filled in by the end of the night. Okay, you got to get that done, fill it in by the end of the night. Okay. And then you can join ministry team. All right. It's a leadership team. Basically, we meet monthly after second service upstairs at Oak Point, and it's going to be training and equipping you guys to be leaders and disciple makers in your lives, in this youth group, but it's just in your lives as a whole. That's what it is. It just goes a little bit deeper in training and equipping you guys. Our next announcement is Zoom life groups for those of you who either can't make it a week for any reason and would like to live stream the message and everything, and you would like to be a part of a life group. We're going to have a special Zoom life group. All right, and on Wednesdays we'll be meeting with me. On Thursdays we're meeting with Kristen, but every night at Brockton 707 we're just going to be having a Zoom life group only time after the message, when everyone else goes to life groups. All right, next announcement is that next week is See You at the Pole, all right? And you guys might not remember See You at the Pole because it's been a couple of years, but See You at the Pole is an annual national day of prayer where students gather around the flagpoles of their school and they pray for their schools. It is a huge deal. It is a step of faith. It takes a lot of courage and strength, but this is the kind of courage we're called to in Scripture, and it's such a good thing. The power of prayer is so important, powerful, and this is an opportunity for you guys to do just that. And it's going to be next Wednesday morning before the bell rings, basically. And so usually, sometimes it's like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the bell, and people just gather around the flagpole. So here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to give you a little bit of time before life groups to just meet in your schools. Okay. So Milford will gather together, Milford High School will gather, Lakeland will gather, private school people will hopefully gather if you have more than one. If it's just you, you're going to hang out by yourself and you're going to say, I'm going to go pray for my school, wherever that is. All right, good job. Ari's like, we're going to do that. And if you're homeschool, you're also going to be gathering as well and together, and you have a choice of what to do that Wednesday. The only thing I'm going to ask you is that you take it seriously and you participate in some way. It could mean what I encourage you to do is to pick a public school of your choice, maybe one of the public schools that is in this community or one that's close to your house, and go there and pray for your school. Or you could pray for your co-op, or you could stand over your house and pray. Either way, whatever it is, I just want you to participate in it. My biggest encouragement would be to go to a public school and pray over them in the flagpole. There you go. That's going to be next week, so we're going to have a little bit of time for that at the end of the night. Next announcement is this Friday. We got a game night, guys. We got another game night. That is this Friday in a couple days, September 17th, 6 to 10. Game nights are open house nights, so we're just going to hang out. We're going to have tables set up. We're just going to have board games going. We'll have the outside set up too if you guys want to just play 9 square. Or like football, like we have flag football stuff too. If you guys just want to hang out and like play some like flag football or basketball or whatever. It's just a time for games. It's all it is. It's an open house, so you can come at 6 o'clock. You can come at 9 o'clock. That doesn't mean you're late. That just means you only have an hour left. So we're just going to play from 6 to 10, and then at 10 o'clock we'll say go home. Okay. If you want to bring some cash, we got pizza, and it's going to be just $1 a slice for those of you who want to grab some pizza. Okay. There you go. That's going to be this Friday. And I want to get a game of Risk going, okay? I want to do it. So for any of you guys who are up for a legit game of Risk, it's going down, and it's happening. And I'm going to win, because I always take Australia. And that's a strategy. I don't know. I think I usually win. So that's just how it goes. All right, next announcement. This is a big one, guys. This is going to feel crazy because we just came back from summer retreat not too long ago. But guess what's coming up in the horizon? It is our fall retreat. Yeah. Woo! There you go. Yes. It's happening, guys. registration opens Friday. We got our fall retreat coming down the pike. So excited. It's going to be November 5th through the 7th, okay? It's Friday, November 5th through Sunday, November 7th, okay? That's the days. That's the weekend. Really going to be awesome. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be at Miracle Camp. We've been there a little while ago, but it's a great camp. We're excited for it. And then there you go. Get ready for it. Fall retreat registrations are opening up this Friday. Cool. Awesome. We got one more really important announcement before we head to worship, guys. We're going to spend a little bit of time in worship. It's going to be great. But before we get there, today's a special day for two very important people and two extremely important people. First off, Cole House is in the house, and it is his birthday today. I'm just kidding. Cole, is it actually your birthday, or did they just mess with you? It is, okay. Ben told me, so I was like, you just never know if it's actually, yeah, you did say it. You just never know. So Cole, you gotta come up here. We gotta give him a chair, okay? We gotta give him a chair to stand up on. So like, let's go right here. You guys, yep, that's how it happens. You gotta do that. All right? Come on up. There you go. Stand on the chair, and we're gonna give him a wonderful happy birthday. Okay, we're gonna give him a wonderful happy birthday. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Keep standing. Happy birthday, dear Cole. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. There you go. Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday. But that's not it, guys. That's not it. Your hand is sweaty. Wow. Okay. That's not it, guys. There's another birthday in the house, and it's pretty special. It's Kristen Partica's birthday today. Kristen, come on up. You're not getting out of this. Come on up. Someone will take that. Oh no. You're not going back there. You're coming up here. Everyone give Kristen a hand. She's coming on up. She's not sitting back here. Okay. Here we go. There's the chair, right there. I mean, unless you don't feel safe, that's certainly okay. All right, there you go. All right, here we go. Ready, set. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Kristen. Let's slow it down a little bit. She really wants to do it too. Let's drag this out.
Hey, he's not singing. We have to do it again.
Did you not say? Oh my God.
All right, hold on. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. All right, good job. Way to today. And as a special treat for Kristen and Cole's birthday, we got some cupcakes for Life Group time, and that's gonna be happening after Life Group. So there you go, cupcakes galore. All right, that is our announcements. Look at that. And now we're on to some worship. All right, let's have the band come up. I'm gonna pray for us, and then we'll just get started. Let's stand up.
Oh, Evan, you're doing it again?
All right, guys. Let's just take this opportunity to give God the glory, to give Him the praise, and let's just make space in our heart for Him right now, and let's just whatever's going on in our lives. This is an opportunity to worship Him above all else. Like everything that's happening in our lives just is completely powerless against the Lord, and we have the Lord as a part of our lives. So let's give Him worship. Let's give Him honor. Let's give Him praise. Let me pray for us, and we'll just head right into it. Heavenly Father, Lord, we love You, and God, we just pray that as we worship You tonight, God, as we sing Your glory, as we sing Your praise, as we sing and saying that we are going to make room for You in our hearts, Lord, we want You to be lifted up. We don't want anyone else to be. God, our lives are always turning to the left and the right. Our attention is constantly focused on different things or different distractions, Lord, but we want to be completely focused on You alone, Father. We focus on You. We make room for You in our lives. God, we do that tonight. We pray this in Your name. Amen.
is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. This is my surrender for you. To do whatever you want to do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you. To do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down, every burden, every bound. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you. Whatever you want to, whatever you want to, and I will make room for you. Do whatever you want to, do whatever you want to. Don't shake up the ground, all my traditions, break down the walls, all my religion. Your ways better, your ways better. Shake up the ground, all my traditions, break down the walls, all my religion. Your ways better, your ways better. And I will make room for you. Do whatever you want to, do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you. Do whatever you want to, do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you. Whatever you want to, whatever you want to, and I will make room for you. Whatever you want to, whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender. The king of my heart, be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, yes, my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, yes, my song. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my soul. You are good. You're good. Oh, 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 never gonna let us down. You're never gonna let me 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 down. We're confident in this, you see it up. You're never gonna let me down. 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 'Cause you are good. You're good. Oh, 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 you're never gonna let me down. 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 'Cause you are good. You're good. Whoa, you are good. You're good. Whoa, you are good. You're good. Whoa, you are good. You're good. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Speak what is true. Sing, here's my life. And sing it to the King. Here's my life, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. Speak what is true. Sing, I'm found. I am found. I am yours. I am loved. I'm in your healed, I am free. 'Cause you are strong, you are sure, you are life, you endure. You are good, you are good, always true. You are light, breaking through. And here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Speak what is true. Here's my life. And here's my life, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. Speak what is true. Speak what is true. Speak what is true. Speak what is true.
Lord, I thank you so much for bringing us here safely. I pray that you will open our eyes and ears to hear the message tonight. And I just thank you so much that you are enough and you give hope to us. And I pray that you will just speak to us tonight and put your hand of peace on us. In your name I pray. Amen.
You guys remember it? Yeah, you remember it? Yeah, there it is, the Planet Fitness thumb. Yeah, RIP, man, that thing's only open for like 6 hours a day now. It used to be like 24 hours, but I mean, I also RIP to my gym membership because that totally took a beating over COVID. So sometimes the wise thing to do is just give up. You heard it here first. You know, sometimes you just gotta know when to give up. You know, there's just moments in life where that's gonna help you in life, guys. Being a quitter is not always a bad thing. It's just sometimes a bad thing. That's all I'm saying. But we're not talking about quitting over the fall, guys. We're gonna talk about the opposite of quitting, which is persevering in using spiritual disciplines for that. We're calling our series "Strengthening Your Core," and the fall is a perfect time to add routine to your life. It's the perfect time to start saying, you know what? I want to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. Romans 12:1. This is what we're called to be. We're called to be transformed by the renewing of our mind, and this is a work that's done from the Lord. And eventually we're like, I want to stop treating God like a little thing for the side, just for funsies. I want to actually take my faith seriously and go the next step. I want to pursue Him and let Him lead my life. And spiritual discipline should be a part of this process. It's not the whole process, but it should be a part of it, because transformation doesn't just happen. We're called to be transformed, but transformation doesn't just happen. You don't just sit back and say, oh God, transform me. Boom, I'm done. Yes, I'm morphed into perfection, right? Like if you feel that way, you're just going to be waiting a really long time. because it's just not going to happen. Like you're just not going to be transformed by sitting on the couch. You're not going to be transformed by just sitting aside and just waiting for it to happen. It's a work of God, but it's a work that he invites us into. It's a work that he invites us into. So we're going to spend today setting the stage for the different spiritual disciplines that we're going to be going through this fall. We need to define what a spiritual discipline is and what a spiritual discipline is not, so we don't have the wrong things in our heads when you think about it, okay? So let's just jump right in. What is a discipline? Like not just a spiritual discipline, what is a discipline? And I'm not talking about like discipline in terms of like punishment necessarily, where like your parents discipline you. I'm talking about another form of discipline, a discipline. What is a discipline that you place on yourself? It is this. And I'm going to say this a few times because this is kind of a redundant definition, but I promise this is a good way of defining it. Discipline is any activity I can do by direct effort that will help me do what I cannot now do by direct effort. Did that make sense? I'm going to say that one more time. Okay. I know it's redundant, but there's a method to the madness. This is the definition of a discipline. A discipline is an activity I can do right now by direct effort. Right now I can do it. That will help me do something else that I cannot do right now by direct effort. It's something else that's bigger, that's grander, that's larger, that you can't do just by direct effort. But you do something right now by direct effort that can get you there. Let me just give you an example, right? Imagine that you're sitting home on your couch, you're watching Netflix and you're eating your buffalo flavored tater tots, and all of a sudden, that everyone should be cheering because that's amazing. And all of a sudden you hear a knock on the door, and it's a group of people in suits, and they come barging in, and they tell you that they're from the Olympic Committee, and they say, "Congratulations, fill in your blank, whatever your name is. You've been chosen to represent our country in the 2024 Paris Olympics," right? And like that just happens, right? They just barge in and they're like, "Guess what? You're in, okay? Like you made it. You are in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Like we got your ticket ready for you. You just got to get there and run a marathon because you're a marathon runner, okay? You're going to be in the marathon. You're going to face like all the Kenyans and just see what happens. And we'll just see what happens, right? Now, let's say that happens. You get excited. You get excited about the honor. But if you actually want to get through the marathon without dying of exhaustion and cramps, let's be real, you're not going to place. But you know, the narrator, the commentator, they always like give people a little rah-rah if they're just there for the experience. You know, that's the line they use whenever someone's not going to win, but they're just pumped to be there, right? And they're just like, hey, he's here for the experience. He's just happy to be here. You at least want to be there, right? You don't want to be like the guy who like passed out from exhaustion on mile 3. You want to at least finish. And if you don't want to just die of exhaustion and cramps, you need to start training, because there's a difference between training and trying. There's a huge difference between training and trying. Simply trying really hard will not get you very far in a marathon. There is no amount of willpower, sheer willpower, that will just make you successfully run a marathon, unless you're a runner. And the only way to become a runner is by training. There's a difference between training and trying. I could try as hard as I could to run 26 consecutive miles. There's no amount of trying that will get me there. It would take a lot of training to get me there too. But that's all that aside, trying is different than training. It's a completely different thing. Training means starting with something attainable so that the eventual goal of 26 miles can be met. Right? And spiritual disciplines are an act of training. That's what they are. They're an act of training. So when we define a discipline as something that I can do right now by direct effort to help me do what I cannot now do by direct effort, think about a marathon. You cannot just do 26 miles by direct effort, but you can start with a 5K. And if you have a few years, you can build yourself up to that. You can train yourself up to that. It's something you can do right now by direct effort to build yourself up to something you can't do just by trying. Spiritual disciplines are an act of training. And that's why we won't be talking about, for instance, the discipline of patience. Or we're not going to give you like the discipline of humility. Because those aren't really disciplines. Those are goals of the heart that we want to achieve through disciplines. You see what I'm talking about? You can't just try really hard to be patient. You can't just wake up one day and say, patience, and just like will yourself to be a patient person and to like all of a sudden like remove all immaturity and impatience from your heart and bam, like just willpower just takes it out. You can't just will yourself to be humble. You can't just wake up one day and say like, I'm going to be humble, humility, and just like become humble. Like in that day, it just doesn't work. Like trying is different than training. So there's no discipline of humility. There's a discipline of service that builds a heart of humility. Do you see what I'm saying? Over the course of my life, I've had different times where I've needed to learn Spanish, right? And I'm a little bit out of practice right now. But whenever I've had those times where I've needed to learn Spanish for different reasons, like it is a training that I'm embarking in, not a trying, okay? Trying just doesn't get you very far. If someone's like talking in Spanish, like right in front of you, they're speaking very fast, and like you can try all you want. It's just not gonna make you know what they're saying, all right? Like you can't just do that. And like they talk really fast, guys. Like it's really hard. Like and like I have no idea. But if you train yourself, you can get there, right? Like training is different than trying. Piano, instruments. Anyone play a musical instrument here? Okay. How far does trying get you? Not very far. Okay. We've all been there. You're like, I want to learn to play guitar because there's this really great song that I really want to learn. And you like pluck it a few times and maybe you learn to play the guitar, this one song, and then suddenly like you just lose interest and you lose willpower and suddenly you stop practicing. And then you don't actually become a guitar player because you've been trained for it. Right? Training is different than trying. And transformation is the same. It obviously takes effort. It does. It does take effort. But we need to direct that effort towards something that's realistic to help us get to something bigger. And the bigger thing that we're going for is a deep level of transformation in the heart. That's what we're going for. So number one, a discipline is an activity that I can do right now by direct effort that will help me do what I cannot do right now by direct effort. Number two, a spiritual discipline transforms us at the core. In our desire to be transformed, it's really exhausting to constantly be disappointed by what we see in the mirror. We talked about this last week. And so often Christians are going to settle for pseudo-transformation, like semi-transformation or kind of transformation, which is substituting real change in our hearts for outward, like distinguishing factors that mark ourselves from non-Christians. All right, this is super constant in the church. This happens all the time because it becomes so tempting to find really external methods, like outside methods, that satisfy our need to feel different than those outside of the faith. And the first step that happens is creating boundaries that are easily marked out for believers on one side and non-believers on another, right? And I'm talking about boundaries that we create. And there are so many out there that we do today without even realizing it. Settling for an outward appearance, settling for something that's a boundary marker that says, all right, everyone on this side of the boundary is a Christian. Everyone on this side of the boundary is not a Christian. But it's some arbitrary boundary that we've invented, that we've created. And you're just only going for that boundary marker. You're only going for that outward appearance, something that looks Christian, something that looks mature. But it doesn't actually mean maturity. It doesn't actually mean transformation. I'm going to give you an example. I could probably keep my job for a long time, even if my heart was consumed with sinful pride and resentment. As long as my teaching is biblically correct and the church is doing okay, I could probably keep my job for a long time if I had like a severely sinful heart of bitterness, anger, and resentment and pride. But right after service on Sunday morning, if I go right outside to the bench, right outside the door, and I light up a cigarette, I would immediately be called to the elder board and be placed on leave. No questions asked. And I want us to think about the difference of those two things. I could last years in this role with a severely sinful, prideful, arrogant, angry, bitter heart. I could survive years. But the second I light up a cigarette right outside the door, I'm done. Like within like a minute. Why is that? Like why is one like more important than the other in our lives? No one here would argue that smoking is worse than a life consumed by sin and resentment. Cigarette smoking is just an identity marker that has been put in place. right? It just is out of place. For a pastor to smoke a cigarette would cause a scandal just about anywhere, not because we believe it is like the worst evil thing in the world, it's the worst thing that you can possibly do, but because we've created a boundary marker that defines what it looks like to be a Christian, what it looks like to be a pastor. Now I'm going to say this, smoking is bad, please don't smoke. That's a boundary marker, that's not the worst one, okay? Like it's good to just not smoke. But I'm just giving you an example so that we understand what the church often does. We say, hey, we're going to spend all our time on these like superficial things to make it look really shiny. And we're just not going to care about what's going on in the heart. But we have to remember that boundary markers are just not substitutes for spiritual transformation. Our efforts to define what it means to be a Christian simply cannot substitute the real and honest transformation of our heart that Romans 12 is speaking of. And this is why the Pharisees of Jesus' day fought so hard about boundary markers with laws like circumcision and dietary laws and the Sabbath. Jesus is constantly having arguments with the Pharisees over these kinds of things. And they weren't interested in a friendly debate about how to interpret the Old Testament laws. Whenever the Pharisees and Jesus are having a conflict or a debate about these kinds of things, they're not just having a friendly debate. Jesus was threatening their understanding of what it meant to be a people of God. Because their preference for these outside things defined what it meant to be part of the people of God for them. And Jesus said, you're focusing on outward appearances, and the heart is way more important. But the heart comes first, and everything else comes second. In Matthew 23:25, Jesus goes hard at it. He says, woe to you, teachers of the law and the Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they're full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee! First clean the inside of the cup and dish, and then the outside will also be clean. He's not saying that the outside shouldn't be clean. He's just saying the inside should come first. The inside should be what you're focusing on first, and then the outside will also be clean. So maybe you're thinking, okay, Perry, I get it. I need transformation in my life. I need to be like real to the core. I want to live the life that God has called me to live. So how do I do that? What discipline should I practice? What should I place in my life to achieve this goal, to go after a transformation life that we're called to? All right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to practice what you need. That's how you decide what to do. You practice what you need. What makes a discipline spiritual is simply one that helps you live the fruit of the Spirit. What makes a discipline spiritual? Because remember, last week we talked about how like separating spiritual from physical and emotional and all those other things, like is to say that God only wants your spirit. But God doesn't only want your spirit, he wants your whole life. So what makes a discipline spiritual is a discipline that helps you live the fruit of the Spirit, which we've gone through a lot. Galatians 5:22. We just went through it as a church over the summer. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. This is the fruit of the Spirit. This is what our lives should look like. This is what a transformed heart and life looks like. So whatever helps us live like this is a spiritual discipline. It could be a spiritual discipline in our life. And that can even mean sometimes getting more sleep. If sleep deprivation is making you irritable and less likely to love others, that can help, right? So first, think through what it means to live in the kingdom of God. More than just the fruit of the Spirit, Jesus gave us a lot of material to show what true spirituality looks like. And then second, learn about barriers, like what barriers are keeping you from this, the fruit of the Spirit. And then discover the practices and experiences or relationships that can help you overcome those barriers and whatever they are. And we're not going to be talking about sleep in the broader context. That was just a little example. We're going to be talking about some broader practices that we can go after for these things. And pretty much all these disciplines are going to land in one of two categories. They're going to be green light disciplines or red light disciplines, okay? A green light discipline is a discipline that you add to your life that you didn't have before, okay? So, for example, giving would be an example of that. Giving to people, like going out of your way to gift someone. So to build a life of love, to build a heart of love. That would be an example of a green light discipline. A red light discipline would be abstaining from something. All right, it's abstaining from something that you do have in your life. And so taking away something that you have. So for instance, a very biblical discipline of fasting, now nowhere does Jesus command us to fast, but it is very common in Scripture. Fasting would be an example of a red light discipline. It's something that you're abstaining, you're taking away something in your life to reach a broader discipline. So we have the green light discipline, which is engagement, like adding something to your life, and a red light discipline of taking away, abstaining something in your life. Those are the two kinds of disciplines we're going to be looking at. And when you ask yourself, like what category do you need to be? Like what do you need to be going after? You simply ask yourself, what sins do you tend to struggle with that keep you from transformation? Do you guys struggle with sins of commission, which means sins that are something you do or think or act or feel? The sins of commission. These would be green light sins. Or do we have sins of omission, which is not doing something you should do, or not thinking or feeling or having something that you should, which is a red light sin. Now you simply look at that and you say, if I have a red light sin, I want a green light discipline. If I have a green light sin, I want a red light discipline. You see what I'm saying? It just kind of it's supposed to come at from the opposite. So for instance, if you struggle with greed, all right, that is omission. That's red light. You're holding in something that is meant to be for others, right? That's an omission. That's a red light sin. Right? A green light discipline would come in to be a part of that. Practicing giving would be an engagement. That would be a green light discipline to add to that. If you struggle with like boasting, like pride and boasting, that would be a green light sin. Pride can also be red light in many different contexts, but let's say it's specifically boasting, then that would be a green light sin. You could add a red light discipline to that. Practicing like silence or secrecy, the good kind of secrecy of humility is what you would be going after. That's a red light discipline. So you just kind of go, you go opposites. And for the next several weeks, we're going to be looking at specific disciplines we can do to strengthen your core, to be pursuing a life of transformation. That's what we're going to be doing the next few weeks. And next week, we're going to be actually going to the first one. This is just an intro. It's just to define what we're going after. As we go into our life groups, we're going to be looking at these specific ones and thinking about, hey, do I have some red light sins in my life? Do I have some green light sins in my life? How can I, with the Lord's help and with His leading, start to actually tackle these things the way I'm called to do? But before we do that, we're gonna give ourselves a few minutes to split up into our schools for See You at the Pole. So here's what we're gonna do. If you are a Milford High School student, I think that is the majority of our public schoolers. I'm gonna have you go to make a circle over here. Okay, make a circle over here. Just stay standing. It's only gonna be for a few minutes. I just want you guys to talk. Hey, listen up. Shh. I want you to talk about the plan of what you guys want to do, what time you want to get to school, and anything that you might want to add. If you want to have a guitar or something like that, if you might want to do a song or two, things like that, just talk about what you want to plan to do. Okay, so Milford High School, you can go over here. Lakeland, I don't know how many Lakelanders we got. Is it just Elliot? is it just Elliot? Waldeck Central, there we go. Is there any other public schoolers? Heartland? What do you got? What's that? Is that public? Where's that at? Okay. Is that Livingston Classical? Okay, I got you. If you're another public schooler, I want you to go over here. Okay? If you're a public schooler, I want you to go over here, and obviously you're not gonna you're at different schools, so you can talk about what you want in your school. If you go to private school, raise your hand. If you go to private school, anyone go to private? Okay. You guys just meet together. Okay. If you go to private, just kind of meet over here. Why don't you guys meet right here in front of the stage? If you're a homeschooler, there we go. All right, I want you guys to meet over there. Just meet over there. I want you guys to talk about what you want to do for See You at the Pole. I encourage you to actually do something. Yeah.
Which one do you guys go to?
Freshman Academy. Don't go to it.
It sucks. It's so bad.
What school is it? What's happening?
It's up place.
Yeah, the school card is pretty good. School card is pretty good. They have one teacher that's
Yo! Oh, there's people on there. Is there?
Hi.
Hi. So actually, I don't think
Anyway, we're the private school people because we're private school. Get the relay. Anyway.
No, we're actually not.
But that's not true.
No.
Kids aren't.
Actually, a lot of my
Not her. Go to Novi Christian Academy. It's uniform. It's
uniforms. I'm wearing my uniform right now, actually.
I'm wearing a uniform, so it's great. Yeah.
This is what I wore.
You guys don't
This is what I was.
No, that is the nice thing. That is where you-
There is no writing.
No, we're talking about.
Who's on this?
Absolutely no one, I don't think.
Oh, we had one and then they just lost him. Well,
I think I'm scared.
they're gone. I scared him off.
You scared them away.
I scared him away.
Okay. I